Finlay, does this mean, in effect, so many more people have now just given up on the idea, on the dream of buying their own bricks and mortar?
Sadly, I think you might be right, because this is just the last of recent increases that stop people from probably getting on the property ladder. So the general increase in house prices has had an effect on that. And now there's this cost of living pinch. Of course, when people are calculating what they can afford to pay for a mortgage, now things like fuel prices have doubled and are set to increase again in October and even again in April 23. So this is a really big problem, and it stops people getting on the housing ladder.
It was only a few weeks ago that Boris Johnson laid out this sort of radical overhaul of the housing market, saying he was going to look at mortgages because it was crazy that people were spending probably more than they would be on a mortgage on their rent. Has any of that had any cut through?
No, not at all, because nothing the government have said or even done has actually got to the heart of the actual problem. And the heart of the problem is we're not building enough homes of the right quality.
But Cunley, how do they get away with it? I often call out, it's just talk. A lot of it's headlines. There's no commitment. I mean, all this nonsense about selling off social housing again when we just don't even have enough social housing stock. And yet they get away with it. So we're actually, tell you what, at this stage we're going to bring in, and be interested in your view with it. Here's a GB Breakfast News viewer, Colin Cockfield. Colin is a retired architectural liaison officer for Staffordshire Police, and he joins us now from Wolverhampton. Colin, you've been listening to what Cunley's saying there. What's your take on all of this?
It's nothing new, really. It comes and goes in waves, doesn't this housing crisis? There's so many blockers at the moment for housing. One of the issues is, of course, the lack of release of greenbelt land to be built on. And this forces prices up because it's a case of supply and demand. So there's a big demand for not only houses to buy, but houses to rent. So it isn't just one issue. We've got a local, for instance, we've got a local MP, Conservative MP, who's backing a group of people who are trying to stop being greenbelt being built on in our local area. And yet the Conservatives have just recently said we're going to increase building on greenbelt area. But one of their own are sort of backing the local NIMBY brigade, if you like, not in my backyard. So that's just one of the issues.